A massive fire broke out earlier this morning at a lithium battery factory in Hwaseong, killing at least 16 people. Concerns are growing as the number of victims is likely to increase. South Korea's commander-in-chief orders full security readiness over deepening military cooperation between North Korea and Russia. Seoul, Washington, and Tokyo also voiced condemnation of the Moscow-Pyongyang pact in the strongest possible terms. Russia claims U.S.-supplied ATACMS were used by Ukraine against Crimea over the weekend, saying 4 people were killed and over 100 injured. It has vowed to mount a retaliation. It's June 24, 2024. This is Newscenter. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon. We start our coverage with unfortunate breaking news. A massive fire at a battery factory in Hwaseong, Gyeonggi-do Province has reportedly killed a number of people. We have our Soo-hyung on the line. Soo-hyung, how's the situation going?
Yes, Jungmin, at 10:31 a.m., a fire broke out at a lithium battery manufacturer here in Hwaseong. According to the fire authorities, 16 people have reportedly lost their lives so far. In addition, 7 seriously injured people were moved to nearby hospitals for treatment. After the initial fire at the Arirang factory was extinguished, firefighters said there could be the possibility of further spontaneous combustion of batteries. In addition, they expect more casualties as 21 people have been reported missing, most of them foreign workers. The factory had approximately 35,000 lithium batteries on site and about 100 workers were there at the time. Due to the composition of the batteries, which are difficult to extinguish with water and could continue to ignite spontaneously when exposed to very high temperatures, it was initially challenging for firefighters to access the inside of the facility. The fire authorities immediately issued a second-stage response system and announced they were able to control the fire at around 3 p.m. The government activated the Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasure Headquarters in response to the fire and casualties. President Yoon urged on-site officials to do their utmost in rescue operations. Specific details regarding the missing, final casualty totals and the cause of the fire have yet to be confirmed. The search and rescue operations inside the facility are still ongoing. That's all I have for now. Back to you, Jungmin.
Our Soo-hyung live on the line. Shifting gears, President Yoon called the security situation around the Korean Peninsula, quote, severe, and ordered his top aides to make every effort to ensure a thorough readiness to deal with potential threats. This is according to the President's Senior Secretary for Public Relations, Lee Do-eun, on Monday, following Yoon's weekly meeting with his top secretaries. Lee further explained that the directive emphasized the need to maintain a firm military readiness posture and economic security following the strategic partnership treaty signed between Russia and North Korea last week and the situation in the Middle East. Against this backdrop, senior officials in South Korea, the U.S., and Japan released a joint statement today condemning deepening Pyongyang-Moscow military ties in the strongest possible terms. Our North Korean affairs correspondent Kim Jong-sil reports.
South Korea, the U.S., and Japan have released a joint statement following the summit between Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. South Korean Vice Foreign Minister for Strategy and Intelligence Cho Kure and his U.S. and Japanese counterparts Chung Bak and Hiroyuki Namazu said the 3 countries condemn in the strongest possible terms deepening military cooperation between the DPRK and Russia, including continued arms transfers from the DPRK to Russia that prolong the suffering of the Ukrainian people, violate multiple United Nations Security Council resolutions, and threaten stability in both Northeast Asia and Europe. The Washington Post reported over the weekend that North Korea likely shipped 1.6 million artillery shells of the type Russia uses in its war against Ukraine from August through January. The statement came as the 3 countries also gear up to hold their first trilateral multi-domain exercise this week. Taking part is the nuclear-powered aircraft carrier USS Theodore Roosevelt that arrived in Busan over the weekend.
Freedom Edge is a significant exercise because it is an opportunity to practice and cooperate between the United States, Korea, and Japan. With the Theodore Roosevelt, which is one of the most advanced versions of a U.S. aircraft carrier, the trilateral nations will be able to exercise all the aspects of multi-domain operations.
North Korea has issued strong protests ahead of the drill, especially following the arrival of the Roosevelt. On Monday, the North Korean Ministry of Defense released a statement saying that Pyongyang was witnessing yet again the reckless choices and actions by the U.S. It added that the U.S. and South Korea are playing a very dangerous game and taking an adventure against the North, stressing that North Korea condemns in the strongest possible terms the provocative actions by the U.S. and South Korea and saying it was open to all possibilities of deterrence demonstrations against Seoul and Washington. Kim Jung-sil, Arirang News.
The U.S. AC-130J aircraft, also known as the Ghost Rider, is currently in the country for joint aerial drills with South Korean forces. Our defense correspondent Choi Min-jung was at the Osan Air Base to take a closer look at the gunship.
The heavily armed U.S. AC-130J aircraft made a second visit to South Korea earlier this month. For the occasion, U.S. Forces Korea Monday held a special press conference at the Osan Air Base in the city of Pyeongtaek, providing a closer look at the gunship, also known as the Ghost Rider. As you can see behind me, the Ghost Rider is a key U.S. military asset and remains one of the most requested aircraft by ground forces. The AC-130J is a traditional C-130J cargo aircraft modified with an array of sensors and weapons. Its primary missions are close air support, air interdiction, and armed reconnaissance. The Ghost Rider can be armed with 30mm and 105mm cannons and fire precision-guided weapons.
When you pair all of those weapons with the constant left-hand turn that a gunship is known for flying, our weapons are continuously pointed in the direction of any potential targets. Simply put, the speed at which we can engage rounds on target in less than 30 seconds, that is unmatched by any aircraft in the world. That allows us to deliver rapid, persistent, and accurate fire support that is very unique to the gunship.
The Ghost Rider was first and last deployed to South Korea in March last year for live fire exercises. And last week, South Korean and U.S. forces conducted their second joint drills over the Korean Peninsula involving the aircraft.
We've not forgotten our commitment to the Ironclad Alliance to defend our homelands, a commitment born out of the blood and 70 years of working together to ensure a safe and peaceful peninsula. Since then, we've steadfastly maintained a deterrence posture with a credible special operations force to prevent conflict, while also giving senior leaders options and the knowledge that we will prevail if needed.
The U.S. gunship arrived approximately 2 weeks ago and is set to depart later this week after conducting additional training events. The drills involving the Ghost Rider come amid escalating tensions on the Korean Peninsula following deepening military cooperation between North Korea and Russia. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News, Pyeongtaek.
On the international front, Russia blames the U.S. for the recent Ukrainian attack against Crimea, reportedly involving U.S.-supplied missiles, and vows to retaliate. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, on the other hand, has urged Ukraine's partners to bolster its air defense. Cha Eun-kyung has more.
The Russian Defense Ministry says that 5 U.S.-provided Army Tactical Missile System, or ATACMS, rockets were shot down by Russian air defense systems over the city of Sevastopol on the Crimean Peninsula on Sunday. The fragments from the 5th rocket were detonated in midair, causing numerous casualties on the ground. Russian officials said on Sunday that at least 5 civilians were killed and more than 100 people were injured.
It was on a summer holiday, on a nice weather day when people were resting on the beach.
Russia has blamed the United States with its foreign ministry, saying that responsibility lies with Washington for supplying Ukraine with the weapons.
We will seek a response. We will do everything to ensure that the international community is notified of the latest crimes of the Kiev regime.
The U.S. has been supporting Ukraine with military aid to only defend against Russia's invasion and gave Ukraine permission to use American weapons to strike inside Russia. However, the U.S. did not allow the use of ATACMS missiles, which have a range of 300 kilometers. According to the New York Times on Sunday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called on the allies to ease the restrictions on the use of Western weapons against Russian air bases, as bombs had been dropped by Russian warplanes on residential districts in the Ukrainian city of Kharkiv on Saturday. President Zelensky reiterated on social media that striking Russian airfields is also entirely justified, and he needs a joint security decision with his partners. On the other hand, U.S. Major General Patrick Ryder recently mentioned that there has been no change in the policy regarding Ukraine's use of ATACMS, and the policy only comes down to counterfire. Cha Yoon-kyung, Arirang News.
In Saudi Arabia, more than 1,300 people lost their lives during this year's Hajj, according to its health ministry, and most of them were unauthorized pilgrims who trekked through excruciating heat waves. Lee Seung-jae has more.
The Hajj is an annual Islamic pilgrimage to Mecca, the holiest city for Muslims located in Saudi Arabia. The pilgrimage is a mandatory religious duty that must be carried out by all adult Muslims at least once in their lifetime who are physically and financially capable of making the trip. However, this year's Hajj, which ran from June 14th to 19th, turned deadly as Saudi Arabia says over 1,300 people died during the 6-day pilgrimage period this year. Releasing the official figures for the first time, the government said Sunday that 1,301 pilgrims died, mostly due to heat stress. Temperatures above 51 degrees Celsius were recorded during this period, with many people walking long distances under direct sunlight without adequate shelter or comfort. Of the dead, 83% were not authorized to make the pilgrimage. Saudi Arabia requires licenses to legally access Mecca, with 1.8 million issued each year. As licenses can cost several thousand US, many make unauthorized pilgrimages. Those without proper documents don't travel in organized tour buses with air conditioning or easy access to water and food supplies. The permits are allocated to countries on a quota system and are distributed through a lottery. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
South Korea's exports are expected to reach new heights this year on the back of the booming chip and auto industries. According to the Korea International Trade Association on Tuesday, the total value of exports this year is expected to rise just over 9% compared to last year, coming to $690 billion for the first time in history. This comes close to meeting the government's target of $700 billion for exports by the end of 2024. The agency attributed this to the flourishing semiconductor and auto industries, predicting that outbound shipments of chips will rise nearly 32% year-on-year due to the fast-growing AI sector and increased demand for IT products in China. The city of Incheon is hosting the 2024 UN Public Service Forum, a 3-day platform for information sharing on innovative examples of public service. Taking center stage has been integrating AI and public services to meet people's needs. Our Yang Hee-young has this report.
The 2024 United Nations Public Service Forum, co-organized by South Korea's Ministry of the Interior and Safety and the UN, opened on Monday in Songdo, Incheon. Under the theme Fostering Innovation Amid Global Challenges, a public sector perspective, the event brings together 2,000 participants from over 100 countries to discuss key issues in public service.
The forum is the most prestigious international event in the public service sector. It is expected to help promote Korea's outstanding digital companies worldwide and expand their opportunities for going global.
During a keynote speech, former UN Secretary General Bang Ki-moon addressed international solidarity for achieving the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals.
But our world, as well as the technological advancement that power it, is vastly different than it was in 2015 when the UN SDGs were adopted. Thus, public institutions and officials must keep pace with such changes and advance sustainable solutions in a more innovative.
Taking part in this year's plenary session, the Digital Technologies Minister of Uzbekistan, next year's host country, emphasized the importance of governments understanding their mission when integrating AI in public services. He added that Uzbekistan and South Korea have a long-standing cooperation in terms of e-government.
This long-standing cooperation really helped us to improve our views as well as our approaches to e-government implementation in Uzbekistan. We were in constant discussion in terms of reviewing the methodologies, learning from Korean government as well. From the infrastructure point of view, we are already cooperating with South Korea on increasing our data center capabilities.
The event also features an exhibition showcasing innovative public services, and one of them is South Korea's digital platform government, which uses digital technologies like AI to provide services tailored to people's needs.
Korea is considered one of the leading countries in government innovation, including digital governments, and has successfully shared examples of outstanding policies with all UN member states. The main contents of the exhibition include the background and basic principles of the digital platform government, a zero required document system, and national security program, and CCTV traffic volume analysis, you name it.
The three-day event will wrap up on Wednesday with the UN Public Service Awards ceremony, where 15 innovative achievements by public service institutions will be recognized. Shin Ha-young, Arirang News.
The second leg of the country's high-speed commuter rail service begins its operation this Saturday. The ultimate goal is to bring a number of cities in Gyeonggi-do province within commuting range of capital Seoul. Lee Soo-jin has more.
The next stop on Seoul's high-speed commuter line is set to open by the end of this month. The Transportation Ministry announced that the GTX-A line will be stopping at Hwaseong Station starting June 29th. As the next station to open on the GTX-A line following the opening of Suseol in southern Seoul and Seongnam and Dongtan in the neighboring Gyeonggi-do province in March this year. And they're all part of the South Korean government's plan to make it faster for people to commute to their jobs in Seoul. People who get on at Hwaseong Station will now be able to reach the city in around 15 minutes compared to the 36 minutes on the existing Suin-Bundang line. And it'll cost only 3,950 won, or around $3. As for the rest of the line, the northern section is scheduled to open in the second half of the year, followed by the connection between Seoul Station and Suseol in 2026, and finally the stop at Samsung Station, one of the nation's most used subway stations, in 2028. The government is also hoping that the opening of this station will boost the ridership of the GTX-A line, which is currently lower than expected.
Passengers can transfer from the Suin-Bundang line, which is expected to raise ridership, and it's a station that represents Yongin City.
And ahead of the opening of the new stop on the line, the government also carried out radiation inspections in a move to mitigate concerns about extra electrical substations being built to supply electricity for the GTX lines. According to an official, radiation below the World Health Organization's guidance level of 83.3 microtesla doesn't have any health risks.
The level of radiation detected from the substations just 3 meters away was not only under the WHO's guidance level, but also lower than what's emitted from hairdryers and microwaves.
The tests that were carried out in the electrical substation came to around 2.7 microtesla and on ground level around 0.04 microtesla. With the opening of more stations like this on the GTX-A line scheduled in the coming months, more people will be able to enjoy faster and safer accessibility to the city. 이수진, Arirang News.
Time now to take a look at what's been happening in the world of sports. With us in the studio is our sports editor, Paul Need. Hi, Paul.
Hello there.
Let's start with golf. South Korean golfer Yang Hee-young, as she has secured her first victory at the LPGA Major.
Yes, that's right. It came at the KPMG Women's PGA Championship on Sunday. Yang shot an even par 72 on the final day at Sahalee Country Club in Sammamish, Washington, to win by 3 strokes at 7 under par overall. She takes home over $1.5 million in prize money and also a spot at the upcoming Paris Olympics. The 34-year-old made her debut on the LPGA Tour way back in 2008. Meanwhile, in the men's game, Kim Joo-hyung came second at the PGA Travelers Championship, losing in a narrow playoff to Scottie Scheffler.
And moving on to baseball and Kim Hwaseong's exploits in MLB, another milestone for him.
Yes, you're right. He hit his 10th home run of the season on Saturday. This is the 3rd season in a row now that Kim has hit double figures for home runs, having hit 17 last year and 11 the year before. It came in the San Diego Padres' win over the Milwaukee Brewers and off of their starting pitcher Carlos Rodriguez with 2 outs and no runners on base. It came in the bottom of the 4th inning. It was his first home run in 2 weeks and made the score 4-0 in what was an eventual 6-4 win. Now, what makes this achievement all the more impressive is the fact that only Chu Shin-soo has been able to reach double figures for 3 years in a row or more. The Padres sit second in the National League West and face the Washington Nationals next.
And to archery, a big win for South Korea with the Paris Olympics just around the corner.
Yes, medals for both the men's and the women's teams. They came at the 2024 Hyundai Archery World Cup Stage 3 in Antalya, Turkey on Sunday. A team made up of Im Si-hyun, Jeon Hoon-young and Nam Soo-hyun dominated France 6-0 in the women's recurve team final. The men's team of Kim Woo-jin, Lee Woo-sok and Kim Jae-dok also triumphed over France with a score of 5-1. Also in the recurve team final, Kim Woo-jin also won gold in the men's individual event, beating Brazil's Marcos de Almeida 6-5. Meanwhile, in the mixed team of Jeon Hoon-young and Lee Woo-sok, they won silver after losing to Japan in the final.
And finally, to football and the European Championship in Germany. What is the latest?
Well, every team has now played at least 2 games in the group stage, and Group A have actually played all of their matches, which means that Scotland are now out. 4 teams are through to the next phase, which means that 12 more spots are still to be decided. In Group A, Germany and Switzerland are through, as to Spain from Group B and Portugal from Group F. For Portugal, their captain Ronaldo is now on 14 goals from 6 different Euros. That's the most goals, and with 5 assists, he also has the joint most assists at the Euros finals, as well as the most appearances with 26, having now appeared at a record 6 Euros, every one since the year 2004. Now, defender Pepe is the oldest player to feature at a Euros at the age of 41. This is a Euros that has also seen the youngest player to feature, Spain's Lamine Yamal, at just 16. The action continues in the early hours of Tuesday in Korea time.
Lots more to look forward to then. Thanks for that, Paul. See you next time.
Thank you.
With rain, the temperatures was below 30 degrees Celsius in most parts of the country today. Seoul and Gwangju were at 28 degrees. However, since the weather was humid, the feels-like temperatures were higher. After the rain stops today, the cold air will move south and tomorrow's temperatures will be lower than today. There will be no rain across the country tomorrow. Until tomorrow, strong winds will continue in the eastern parts of Gangwon-do province. In addition, high waves will be seen on the east coast for the time being. Please refrain from going near the coastlines. Tomorrow morning, Seoul, Gwangju, and Daegu will start off at 19 degrees. It will move up to 28 in Chuncheon, Daejeon, and Gwangju, Gyeongju 30 degrees. More rain is forecast on the southern coast and Jeju Island again from Wednesday. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is Newscenter for tonight. Thank you for watching. A panel session up next.